Hey you guys, I'm Dave and welcome to episode 3 of Tableau and the Science of Fundraising. Today we will talk about analyzing first and last gift dates and how important that can be. My goal is to make your fundraising data useful. With that, I can't think of a more simple way to take a look at the qualitative and quantitative aspects of first and last gift dates and make that very insightful in understanding donor behavior. To anticipate a question, can you get the first and last gift date out of Razor's Edge? And only the first and last gift dates? Yeah, you can. There's a few different ways to do it. Constituent export with summary gift fields. That takes a long time to export. A constituent export with just the first gift. You can use some complicated query logic or queries to get the most recent gift. The problem with all of these approaches are once you've done that, it's set. That's the only thing you've got in your data set. Sometimes when you're doing your analysis, you might realize you want more. You might realize that heck, in addition to the last gift, I need the second to the last gift. Or you just want to compare certain aspects of that last gift or the first gift, and you want to compare them all together. That's kind of one of the big drawbacks of those approaches. Honestly, it's going to be easier just to get the entire data set. Don't worry about constituent records. Go to gift records, pull out the constituent information you need, like the constituent ID and the gift ID, the gift amount, the gift date, and from those 4 things right there, you can do an immense amount of insights and other analytical activity. If you want to break it down by the numbers, in my case, it took about 14 minutes to export 20 years of all gift records to Blackbaud hosting file storage. It took me about 52 minutes to export 20 years of donor data, constituent records, with first gift and last gift summary fields. As you know, summary fields really slow things down. There's not a great deal of benefit to doing just the summary field way. So that's 38 minutes longer, and I'm going to show you what exactly you could do in those 38 minutes, while if you did it the other way, you'd still be waiting and waiting and waiting for your export to finish. I'll show you what you could do if you just export all gifts and jump in immediately to your analysis. Okay, so we're in Tableau Public. And I've got a data set that I've been using for a couple other demonstrations already loaded. It's about 20 years worth of gifts. And let's say we want to analyze a comparison, rather, between the first year of giving for all of my constituents, so the first time they gave in each fiscal year, and I want to compare that to, let's say, the previous 3-year averages of first year giving. So let's just take a moment to get our calculations in place. I recommend having a calculation library, as it were, and that way you always have a go-to for things that are common. And let's go ahead and do our first gift date. So this calculation fixes for each constituent ID what their minimum or first gift date was. Okay? And let's get the previous 3-year average. This uses a function called Windows average or window average. If you click on this caret in the create calculated field box, and then you click on the function name, it gives you a little bit of information about that function and a starting place. So it returns the average of the expression within the window. The window is defined as offset from the current row. Use first and last for offsets from the first or last row in the partition. If start and end are omitted, the entire partition is used. And then it gives a sample. Let's talk through what this means in this particular case. So I want the average of the count of constituent IDs, so my constituent IDs, or my donors, and I want to go for the average of 3 years back, or 3 years worth, but starting 1 year back. So go back 1 year and then take the 3 years, and then we're going to average that. Okay, that's what that means, simply put. Next, let's go ahead and put first gift date out. And right away, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and drag my constituent IDs or my donor IDs to text, and I could change my measure to count distinct, and this will tell me for each of my years how many donors I had, or how many first-time donors that I had actually. Yeah, so that's what it's doing by using this calculation here at the top for my first gift date. And then I can break that out even a little bit further by changing my focus to month. And now what this is going to show instead is the, by each fiscal year in each month, how many first-time donors I had. Of course, the first time I do this for the first year in my data set, those numbers are going to be really large. But as we go forward and there's fewer and fewer first-time donors, I'm getting repeat donors at that point, the first-time donors, that number is going to decrease. So that makes sense. Okay, now let's say I want to compare this to the previous 3-year average. How does this work? All right, so now I have 2 of my measures. One is called the distinct count of constituent IDs, or my donor IDs, and then one for previous year average of my, along the month of the gift date. Okay, it's not quite right. Got a little bit of work to do. The first thing is, anytime you do a Windows average calculation, anytime you do a window average calculation, it wants a direction to work from. It wants to know what, I'm telling it -3, -1, which means 1 year back, and then take the next 3 years starting with that 1 year back. Okay, but it needs to know what direction I want to go. And this little triangle here gives us a little clue that we need to pay attention to the direction. So we've got a lot of numbers here. I'm going to reduce this just a little bit, and I'm going to take only some of these years. Okay, let's do just 2014 to 2024. And you can see that I've got dates represented from 2014 to 2024, from January to December, but in my previous 3-year average section, nothing's happening in January. And the reason for that is the calculation is going the wrong direction. If I do this drop down and I go to compute using, by default, it's going to table across. So it's going in the forward right direction. What I want it to do is go down instead. And now I've got something completely different. How do I know it's working? There are a few things we can do for this. I can go to this show summary feature, and I'm going to actually drag this over here. And this is a really neat little tool. I'm going to turn off tooltips so I can show you. So if I select the average of 18, 43, and 1/3, I got these 3 years that I've selected, 3 consecutive years, and the average is 64. That squares up with the average for January in 2024. If I take these 3 months in February of 23 through 2021, the average is 241.3, and I can see that in February that is indeed correct, of 241.3. Okay, so this is a neat little calculator tool that helps you do some basic arithmetic on the fly. So now it's going the right direction, and I'm showing just a few years, so it will let me work with them. Now let's visualize it. I always like to get started with a table. I always like to have a table to go back to in case maybe my visual's looking strange. I'm not sure what's happening. Let's go ahead and make a copy of this. And I'm just going to call this comparison table, and I'm going to call this comparison chart. Okay. And now I am going to run a dual bar chart here. And you'll notice that the chart is going from left to right, and it's taking each fiscal year one at a time, and then I have months for each of the years, and it's looking at 2 things. The distinct count of constituent ID. Let's see if we can make this a little easier to say. Let's edit the alias for this and just call this number of donors. First time. And let's see if we can make this easier to say and change it to 3-year average. Okay, that looks a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so what's next? Let's do something to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to select all my years, and I'm going to hide them except for the year 2024. You'll note right away that I'm missing a couple of months here. I don't have giving numbers for November and December, so it makes sense that I'm not seeing number of donors first time, but I should be able to work with my average from my previous 3 years, okay? That calculation is still in place. Even though the years aren't showing on the screen, I've just hidden them. They're still there. So one thing I will do is do a right click, and I will go to show missing values, and you'll see it did what I wanted it to, which is to pull out November and December as well, but it kind of shortened what I was looking to do as well. And then I've got to change this a little bit. So now I can see what my measures are and read the labels a little bit. Labels got a little bit messed up. We can correct this by going to Format, and we can change this. Just by rotating it like that. And now we can go ahead and continue with the analysis. So this is neat because it does show that in March we had a really big spurt of donors, but that appears to be a one-time sort of thing because the average just isn't showing that. Comparing the bars side by side is kind of useful. There is another way we could do this though, which is to sort of make it a goal instead of two bars side by side, and that would look something like this. So let's start clean. Let's go to gift date. Let's go and grab. Let's start with first gift date. Let's go to reset to month. And now let's pull out my constituent ID to text and set this to count distinct. Okay, this is great. I want to do the same thing though and get rid of some of these years. Okay, let's take a look at what this would look like as a visual. I'm going to switch my orientation. That's not the direction I want my bars. And let's go ahead and grab just the years I want. So I'm going to select all my other years and I'm just going to hide them. I'm not filtering them out. I'm just taking them off the viz. They're still there. Okay, so in Tableau, you have a neat feature which lets you do two separate measures, but you're looking at them in the same visual, and you can even compare them apples to apples. Control click on a Windows computer, and I made a copy of it. It's a perfect copy, you see. And now I'm going to drag my previous 3-year average on top. Okay, so this looks kind of interesting. You'll see what it did right away though is it pulled out a different scale. So this was looking at my donor IDs, my number of donor IDs, which were just above 600, but in the previous 3-year average, it's at a different scale now. We are going to fix that in just a second. For the previous 3-year average, I don't want to show it as a bar. I want to show it as just a mark. I want to show it as just a line, so it's kind of like a goal. It's sort of like what we want to focus on. And I'm going to put a Gantt bar. And now you see it's a little bit different. Okay, let's go ahead and make this a dual axis chart. So I have two separate measures, but I want to show it on the same visual, the same chart. So I'm going to select dual axis.
And now you see I've got this little problem. One of my axes is at 650, the other axis is at 240, and I can fix this by doing a control click and or a right click and make this synchronized. And now I've got this. Blue on blue doesn't stand out very well, so I'm going to change this, do again a control click or a right click, and I want that to be red, and I'm going to click apply, and now I have something that looks a little closer to what I want. The values aren't quite right though. Remember when we talked about on this chart, the direction of the table wasn't calculating in the right direction? So I've got to do something similar here, which is I want the previous 3-year average to compute using the first gift date. And now let's go ahead and check what this looks like. So make sure this is correct. In April, my previous 3-year average should be 60.3. Let's go over to my table, and in April 2024, 60.3. In June, it was 62.3. Let's go back to my table. In June for 2024, it's 62.3. So now you know everything is going the right direction, and now you can see it's very easy to say what your goal needs to be in order to meet your 3-year average. So if you want your current month's donations to beat your 3-year average, now you've got a very easy way of seeing if that goal is in fact being met. So the red line represents your goal or the 3-year average. Your blue line, your blue bar represents your actual number of donors for the month of the current fiscal year. That's a quick, down and easy analysis to do to make sure everything's going the direction you want for your nonprofit. Still a problem with this, and that is my scale is only going from January to October. Once again, you can fix this by clicking Show Missing Values. Show Missing Values. And now you see I've got my goal. This is my goal for November. That's the previous 3-year average. This is the goal for December. That's the previous 3-year average. That's where I know I want to be to meet my averages. Let's go on to something else. In Razor's Edge, when you do a constituent export that has summary information for the first gift, you can request a little bit of details about it, like the amount, a few other things. And you can do that in Tableau. It just takes a little bit of a step to get that. It requires, again, a calculation. So let's go ahead and get that. So I already have this made. Let me copy that, and then I'll explain what it's doing. Let's go make a new calculated field. Let's call it first gift amount. And what this is saying is if the gift date is the first gift, this is the same calculation we just used. I do need to switch this. Donor ID is not the name of my field. It is constituent ID preferred. That's a bit of a mouthful, but let's go with it. If the gift date equals the minimum gift, and that's what we already made, then get the gift amount. And, okay, that's pretty straightforward. So we'll go with that. And now I have something for the first gift amount. So the first thing I could do is put this on a timeline for the gift date. And then let's say I'm interested in knowing some statistics about first gift amount. I want to know what the first gift amount averages for each year. So for those individuals who had a first gift, what was the average amount of that first gift? So to do that, I've got to make one more calculated field. And I'm just going to type the average function, and then I'm just going to put the name of the other calculated field I just made. Okay, and let's go here. And now I have some idea of what my average first gift amount is. The trajectory that it's going. And if you were a nonprofit leader, you might look at that and say, this is a little concerning that the average first gift amount is dropping like this. We know there have been changes over the last few decades, but images like this help certify just how big those changes are. Average may not be the best measure, though. Let's go ahead and do another one for median first gift amount. And I'm going to type in the median function, and again, I'm going to grab first gift amount. That looks good. Now, I could just replace this. I could just drag it on top and look how that is going to go. But maybe I wanted to see the two measures side by side or superimposed on top of each other. I'm going to do a command click and drag on a Mac. On a Windows, I believe it's control click and drag, and now this just doubles it. Now I've got the same thing twice, and then I'm going to take median first gift amount and I'm going to drag it on top of one of these. And you see the bottom one switched. The bottom one is now showing medium first gift amount. The top segment is now average first gift amount. Okay, that looks kind of cool. I can do better, though. I can put this on the same visual by creating a dual axis. And then on top of that, you see, so the average first gift amount is on one scale, and the median first gift amount is on a different scale. That's confusing to viewers. So let's do a right click and go to synchronize axis. And now we have what I've been looking for. And I'm going to drag this out. That's a little too much. I'm going to drag it out just a bit so we can get a good picture that the median gift amount really is not changing very much. There's some variation in the last few years, pretty much starting with the COVID era, and then a bit of a downtick for the last couple of years. But it's really pretty stable compared to average. So the question remains then, should you be concerned or not concerned? That's a strategy session that you would want to have. But now at least you have the visual data to refer to. Okay, what's something else you can do? Let's talk about last gift date and some things there. I'm going to create a new pane or a new sheet. And I am going to go to my snippets. Here I have last gift date. I already have it made. And I'm going to go back to Tableau and create field. And this is going to be called last gift date. Could I do the same thing like I did with first gift date and first gift amount? Yeah, you can build last gift date and last gift amount as well. So what this is saying is fix the calculation on each constituent ID. So for each constituent ID preferred, get me the most recent gift date. When was the last gift? That's all this is saying. Okay. Let's do a little bit of acquisition and retention measures. That word acquisition is becoming a little bit more controversial. I don't know that there's a great substitute for it yet. We'll go with it, but be mindful. I think the language around philanthropy is changing to be a little less dehumanizing, to treat people less as commodities and more as human beings. We'll try to work that into my vocabulary as well. Okay. So between first gift date and last gift date, you actually have the only two things you need to do a ton of different analytical measures. Let's do a very simple one, which is, okay, what if my first gift date was actually the last gift date? Does first gift date equal last gift date? And this is simply going to be a test. First gift date equals last gift date. When I apply this on a viz, it's going to be a true or false statement. Either this is true or this is false. Okay, so let's go ahead and go here. Now let's go to, let's say I'm interested if the first gift is the last gift, but I want to look at it in the context of all gifts. So I'm going to go with gift date, and then I am going to do a count of my constituent IDs. And I want to show this as a bar chart. I don't like the horizontal bars. I'm going to switch that. Okay, this looks interesting. And now I am going to drag my test to color. And this is going to throw out for me, is the first gift equaling the last gift? So is the first time they gave the last time? Did they make a gift and they were done? And that's what this chart is now showing me. So for all of these sections in orange in this stacked bar chart, that is exactly what this is showing me. That it appears, for the most part, I had a nice little downward trend where the percentage of those one and done donors was actually declining. And then I had a big jump here just in the first couple years of COVID. And in the last few years, you've got to realize this becomes a little bit more of a judgment question. This is really where the power of your appeals, the power of your packages really is going to be making the difference in whether this is a tall segment or a lower segment. Right off the bat, in absolute terms, this doesn't look so bad. But what if I wanted to see for each year, what is the percentage of one and done donors? They made their gift and they're gone. So for this, I can invoke another calculation. And let's say I want to do a percent of total. And it gives me my little indicator that I have a calculation. I'm going to change the direction so that instead of running across the table, it's running down the table. And now I have something different. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see. A little more. Okay, well, that's good enough to get the idea. And I'll just close that some. Okay, so now what we are seeing is what the relative percentages for every year, or the absolute now we are seeing what the absolute percentages for each year. Every year is being looked at as a 100%, okay? So I actually have, going since 2018, a bit of an uptick in the last few years, that more and more of my donors are becoming the one and done. They're out after their first gift. This is a group that needs to be focused on. This is a group that needs attention. and you can see that pretty easily. Ideally, what you want to see is actually a downward slope, but we know in the current environment, in the current trends of the industry, this is getting harder, but now you know how bad the exact problem is and you can see it with ease. There is a outstanding video on YouTube by Concourse Hosting that shows you a ton of measures regarding retention, acquisition. It is just an incredibly powerful video. I'll put the link to it in the notes section of the YouTube when I publish this. I don't even know if that entity is still in existence, but I can say it was an incredibly useful video. It is still 100% applicable. And this is just scratching the surface of what you can show. If you know the first gift date, if you know the last gift date, you can run several measures and KPIs. It really is worth your time. I'm not going to recreate it here. That would be silly. So next time we will get into some other common issues regarding your metrics and KPIs and how you can visualize that. It's all about, here's the things that Razor's Edge doesn't do great, or maybe you're just your CRM in general, but you can go to a third-party tool like Tableau and you can get literally everything you need. You just have to understand the language and make it work for you. And I do have to point out, we've got about 5 more minutes before that export with the summary and first gift and last gift information is ready. We did all of this before the export would even be done. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.